Hello there, and welcome to LoreDive, where we delve into the backstories of some of the greatest video games out there. Today we're going back into Dead by Daylight for the chapter Forged in Fog, with its new realm, the Decimated Borgo, Shattered Square, its new survivor, Vittorio Toscano, and its new killer, the Knight. The Decimated Borgo, Shattered Square. Once, long ago in medieval Italy, a village that once bustled with life and industry was suddenly razed to the ground. This village, Daro, was gorgeous, but the cobbled roads of this Italian settlement ran red with the blood of her citizens, all due to the righteousness of a mercenary group known as the Guardia Campagna. The entity's realm has preserved and distorted the main square of this ancient village, leaving its rubble forever smoldering. A large gathering hall stands in its center, still upright despite its scars, while several shacks and walls litter the landscape in varying degrees of disrepair, their original purpose forgotten. The pain suffered here still emanates from the crackles of its embers, and the lives lost forever etched into its tainted foundation. Vittorio Toscano, the Endless Wanderer. Born to Alberto and Caterina Toscano in 1343, Vittorio Toscano was the youngest of three and the third in line to inherit his family's land. At the age of 15, his father sent him to train with the Torre Fabrizio, the same knight who trained his older brothers in the military arts. But Vittorio didn't take to combat training the way his brothers did. As a student of philosophy, he believed physical violence to be the last refuge of the incompetent. Infuriated by Vittorio's pacifism, Fabrizio ordered one of his pages to attack him. Vittorio dodged and blocked the blows, but refused to fight back. When his enraged opponent lunged, Vittorio parried. His attacker tripped, falling on his own dagger. He bled out in less than a minute, and Vittorio threw down his sword, swearing never to pick it up again. Since Vittorio demonstrated an aptitude for scholarship, his frustrated father sent him to study with his uncle Renzo. Besides being the Duke of Portoscuro, Renzo was also a scholar and collector of rare artifacts. Under Renzo's tutelage, Vittorio focused his studies on lost civilizations and ancient history. He researched forgotten tomes and became an expert on the philosophy and wisdom of ancient secret societies and obscure guardians of knowledge. Guardians present in almost every century in culture. Guardians that were by manifold names depending on the time and region, and were said to be from another dimension. A perfect world. He collected anything on watchers, keepers, guides, masters, observers. Vittorio's research revealed these guardians acted as gatekeepers of advanced and arcane knowledge that would gradually help humanity transcend to a higher plane of existence. He theorized the observers waited for humanity to acquire wisdom before releasing knowledge that otherwise would lead to their self-destruction. Slowly, these observers found ways to inspire humanity with knowledge that would stimulate growth, understanding, and collective wisdom. Vittorio adopted his uncle Renzo's view that greed for money and power was the source of all conflict. His hope was that the lost knowledge of these gatekeepers might bring peace, harmony, and order to a violent world. At Vittorio's urging, Renzo mounted an expedition to find lost relics and artifacts from the ruins of antiquity. In Hungary, they discovered a bronze dodecahedron that dated back to Roman times. In Asia Minor, they uncovered a hidden tunnel beneath the obelisk of Theodosius, where they discovered stone tablets engraved in Akkadian cuneiform. They told a tale of a mysterious artifact split into three and scattered across the world. A clue led them to the ruins of Troy, where a secret chamber revealed a treasure trove of antiquities. The most precious was a piece of that mysterious artifact. Another clue led them to Isle of Rose, where a hidden cave held a second part of that same relic. In Delphi, under the Temple of Apollo, Vittorio discovered the third piece on a black marble altar. Engravings on the altar showed a map of Crete and a star over the palace of Minos. Deep in the labyrinth, below the ruins of the palace, Vittorio discovered a place to put the key created by the three relics. Ancient machinery came to life. A stone wall slid open, revealing a hidden vault. Renzo and Vittorio entered and found a white marble wall inscribed with what seemed to be a form of Sanskrit. The message warned of a cult that sought to corrupt humanity with knowledge it wasn't ready for. They had hunted down the observers and imprisoned them, but before being imprisoned, the observers had hidden artifacts around the world with secret knowledge about this dark force and how to stop it from destroying the world. The message on the wall also spoke of a stone from an ancient school that held the secrets of traveling between planes of existence. Vittorio, believing the stone held the key to finding the observers or their perfect world, called the stone Lapis Paradisus. As they exited the vault, Renzo stepped on a black serpent. The serpent sank its fangs into Renzo's leg and disappeared in a flash. The venom spread fast, and within minutes, Renzo had passed away. As his only heir, Vittorio inherited his estate, library, title, and his vast fortune. Determined to honor his uncle and help humanity transcend its weakness, greed, and cruelty, he knew he had to find the Lapis Paradisus and free the observers if they were still alive. In 1391, Vittorio mounted an expedition. He employed a mercenary knight to aid in the effort and offer protection. Formerly a member of the Guardia Campania, Tarhos Kovacs feared no man or beast. Vittorio's explorations and discoveries eventually led him to the heavily guarded catacombs beneath the Portuguese city of Sintra. If the expedition wanted to enter, they would have to kill those who guarded it. Vittorio had no wish to shed blood and told Tarhos to find another way. Tarhos defied Vittorio, and by the end of the day had him in irons. When they returned to Italy, Tarhos locked Vittorio in a dungeon and began a campaign of torture in Portoscuro, promising to stop when he revealed the meaning behind the stone. Within weeks, Tarhos grew tired of torturing the townsfolk, and Vittorio was left to rot in the dungeon, with no one to talk to but the rats. In his solitude, he scratched the symbols from the Lapis Paradisus into the stone floor. He attempted countless sequences while imagining a world like paradise, and just when he was about to surrender to hunger and despair, he tried one last sequence while meditating on a world of endless peace and compassion. At first, he thought he had failed. He gasped with the last of his strengths as the rats approached menacingly, preparing to feast on his defeated, sallow flesh. Then suddenly, a cold, unnatural black fog rose from the stone floor, and within moments he heard cries of anguish and crows circling above him. With difficulty, he clambered to his feet and found himself in another world, but not the paradise he had expected. Vittorio, timeline-wise, is by far the oldest of all of the survivors and has been involved in this process for who knows how long, and as such has learned more about the powers within the realm, in part thanks to his own research before the entity claimed him. Vittorio's first perk is Potential Energy. Vittorio's studies and arcane abilities have adapted him to the entity's realm after centuries of wandering, and now allow him unprecedented control of devices within the realm. After repairing generators for a period of time, Vittorio can bank progress being made on a generator rather than continue repairing the generator he is working on. This progress will come in the form of tokens up to a cap. Once this cap is met, or at any time before that, he can use all tokens in the perk to instantly progress the generator's progress based on the number of tokens he has. If he loses a health state for any reason, all tokens in the perk will be lost. Vittorio's second perk is Fogwise. Due to his countless years in the fog, Vittorio has seen it all, and when he is focused, he can remember it all. With Fogwise, Vittorio will be able to see the killer's aura for a short period of time whenever he hits a great skill check while repairing a generator. Vittorio's final perk is Quick Gambit. When Vittorio has the killer's attention, he knows how to keep it, allowing the other survivors to be confident that they will not be interrupted anytime soon. When Vittorio is in a chase, any survivors near him will receive a boost in generator repair progression. Vittorio's age, experience, and wisdom will most certainly be helpful when it comes to unraveling the mysteries within the fog, even though he's also going to have to deal with a traitorous presence that he would have hoped he had left behind. Taros Kovacs, the Knight. Taros Kovacs didn't remember much about his childhood, but what he did remember, he would chase his entire life. He remembered the cries and screams of the village. He remembered his mother forcing him to swallow a thick, black fluid-like medicine. He remembered collapsing on the hard floor, only to awaken in a mass grave, buried under a crush of bodies, with the sound of the village burning in his ears. He remembered pushing, pulling, and climbing to the top of the bloody mass, only to be seized by the death, destruction, and silence. The indifferent and impenetrable silence. A high-pitched whine suddenly sounded in his ears, and his skin began to prickle as he realized he was in the presence of something he couldn't possibly understand. And though he couldn't articulate what he was experiencing, he knew it wasn't pain, grief, or fear. It was something else. Something closer to awe. As Taros tried to make sense of the moment, he didn't notice the men who approached him from behind. He didn't even react when they carried him off to a horse-drawn buggy and locked him up in a small wooden cage with the other slaves. He just stared at the scene, mesmerized. And even as they rode away telling him he was headed for Italy, Taros stared through the wooden creaks with eyes wide open, and a heart wanting to understand what could not be understood. From that day on, Taros belonged to the Guardia Campania, where he trained under Kadir Hakam. There he learned to wield weapons, forge armor, and recite a code of chivalry to obediently serve those who would employ his services. As the years passed, Taros made a few friends among the hostile and competitive mercenaries, but his skill, strength, and smarts attracted a small following who believed his courage brought them luck in battle, and that one day he would help them earn their collective freedom. 3 of his followers pledged their undying allegiance to Taros, and came to be known as his Faithful 3, his pack. Alejandro Santiago, apprenticed with the Guardia Campania's armorer, Durkos Malakek, showed an aptitude for stealth and silent kills. Sander Ralt matched Taros in size and strength. His weapon of choice was a massive battle axe. As the Guardia Campania carried out campaigns in faraway lands, Taros dispatched countless enemies. Years passed. Blood flowed. And yet, all that killing didn't bring Taros closer to what he had experienced in his village. Nevertheless, for his bravery in battle, Taros was granted knighthood and freedom. The Hungarian slave was now liberated, his brutality rewarded, though his heart still longed for something else, something he could not name or describe. Tired of taking orders from those he considered his inferiors, Taros left the Guardia Campania to strike out on his own. Their leader, however, refused to release his followers, determined to raise enough gold to ensure his friend's freedom. Taros found employment with a wealthy Italian lord. Vittorio Toscano was the Duke of Portoscuro. He was also a scholar, a world traveler, and a collector of ancient knowledge that had been hidden by an unknown cabal of mystics. Tarhos joined Vittorio's latest expedition to find a fragment of a pillar from an ancient school lost to time. A stone Vittorio called the Lapis Paradisus, where he believed it held secrets to open a gateway to a perfect world beyond good and evil. The expedition searched Roman ruins in France and crossed the Pyrenees Mountains into Spain, where the path led to the catacombs beneath the Portuguese city of Sintra. The cities there considered the catacombs sacred. Tarhos would have to kill the villagers guarding the entrance to retrieve the stone. Not wanting to shed blood, Vittorio commanded Tarhos to find another way. But Tarhos, who had seen the most horrific acts committed under the guise of chivalry, refused to be dissuaded by pretenses of honor. He waited for Vittorio to ride back to camp. Then, with a mighty roar, he pushed forward, cutting a path of blood and gore into the darkness until he had the stone in his grasp. Upon returning to the town of Portoscuro, Tarhos imprisoned Vittorio in his own dungeon, demanding to know the meaning behind the symbols etched in the stone. When Vittorio refused to talk, Tarhos brutally tortured his friends and relatives and made horrific displays of their bodies in the street. But nothing he did shook Vittorio's resolve to keep the secrets of the stone from Tarhos. Enraged, Tarhos seized control of Vittorio's riches and raised a small army. Within months, Tarhos fearlessly marched upon the Guardia Campania, decimating their barracks, freeing his followers, and cutting down his enemies like twigs and collecting their righteous heads for his growing displays of valor. In time, several lords in neighboring provinces believed Tarhos was the very embodiment of evil. They banded together to create a moral and virtuous army to purge evil from Portoscuro. Tarhos ignored their threats. He viewed the lords as a cowardly lot who cloaked their greed and ambition in laws, codes, and platitudes. Laws, codes, and platitudes designed to hide from the very darkness Tarhos embraced and accepted without judgment. But with his enemies on the march, Tarhos headed toward the dungeons to give Vittorio the death he deserved. He refused to afford him even the slightest hope of rescue. With dark intentions, he entered the small prison, wound his way into the bowels of the earth, and pushed through a torchlit corridor. He hesitated for a moment, realizing he would never learn Vittorio's knowledge and secrets, but neither would anyone else. That was good enough for him, and so he unlocked and kicked open the dungeon door. 2 quick strides brought him to an empty, rat-infested chamber. Tarhos stood silent for a moment. Then a roar of indignation burst out of his lungs as the sounds of battle suddenly reverberated through the town. Instantly he stumbled through the corridor, rushed up the twisting stairs, vaulted out of the moonlit doorway, and charged through pools of gleaming blood and viscera, smashing and shattering his way through the enemy. The moral and virtuous lords rained flaming boulders and tree trunks among the town, bursting through homes, crushing villagers like worms, pounding the ground and igniting stacks of hay and piles of lumber into massive tongues of fire. Amidst the carnage and chaos, the pack found Tarhos, and back to back they became a whirlwind of death. Some believed their courage gave them luck. Others believed something otherworldly protected them. Whatever it was, they alone felled dozens of warriors as easily as stomping and crushing beetles. And as they butchered the enemy, Tarhos didn't notice the strange fog rising from the fallen corpses and clattering armor until he couldn't see 2 inches in front of him in any direction. Tarhos stumbled forward, groping in the thick fog like the dark fluid his mother forced down his throat all those years ago. His coordination and sense of direction was confused as he called out for his pack. How long he stumbled in the almost perfect darkness he did not know. But suddenly the fog dissipated to reveal a phantasmal wasteland of rotting bodies, burning villages, and great crumbling towers leaning drunkenly on the horizon. He stared in awe. A familiar, high-pitched whine sounded in his ears as his skin began to prickle. He stood transfixed, realizing by some incredible chance his heart had found exactly what it had been searching for all his life. He didn't need Vittorio. He didn't need the stone. He had found his paradise. He had found the beauty, the horror. He had found the sublime. The knight's power is Guardia Campania. With it, the knight can summon his faithful guards to his side to help in his hunt. Using this power, the knight will order a route for his guards to follow, which they will do faithfully for a period of time before they despawn. The guards can also be used to attack generators or break down walls or pallets if directed to do so. If a survivor enters the guards' field of view, they will immediately begin chasing them as they begin a hunt, and will attack them if in range. When they begin their hunt, they will leave behind a flag that will become corporeal after a period of time. If a guard or the knight damage the survivor they are chasing, they will immediately despawn on the spot. If any survivor touches the guard's flag, the hunt will immediately end, and the survivor who touched it will gain the haste and endurance status effect for 3 seconds. The knight will cycle through his guards in a specific order. He can tell which guard will be summoned next, based on the ghostly apparition above his wrist. The Carnifex will break down or damage objects faster than any other, and will also hunt for a longer period of time if they spot a survivor. The Assassin will move faster while hunting, and if they hit a healthy survivor, they will leave them with the Deep Wounds status effect. And finally, the Jailer will move faster on patrol, and can spot survivors further away than any other guard. These 3, along with the knight, make up the Guardia Campania. The knight's first perk is Nowhere to Hide. The machinations of the weak and craven draw the knight's ire, and his anger will force the survivors to reveal themselves. If the knight damages a generator, the aura of all survivors within a certain radiance of him will be revealed. The knight's second perk is Hex, Face the Darkness. The knight will make an example of his victims, forcing their allies to become awed by his power. Once the knight enters a survivor by any means, a random dull totem on the map will become active with the perk. All other survivors will now scream periodically while outside of the killer's terror radius, revealing their auras when they do so. The knight's final perk is Hubris. The knight shows no mercy, especially to those foolish enough to resist. Whenever the knight is stunned by a survivor, that survivor will suffer from the exposed status effect for a period of time. The Tainted Knight and his cronies now hunt through the realm of the entity, sparing none in their wake. Any who find themselves caught by this pack of dogs will face a vicious and brutal end. And that's it for this chapter. Obviously, this has come out extremely late. It was never my intention to wait this long, but unfortunately, just stuff with life made it to where I just did not have the time or the energy to be able to put into any sort of creative endeavor. And I really wish that I had been able to pull up the energy to do it, but I didn't have it. Special thanks to all of my patrons who have stuck with me during this time. I'm going to be uploading some stuff specifically just for you guys, just because, y'all deserve it. And I kind of just want to, show you a few things that are outside of my normal wheelhouse. I have the video for Tools of Torment coming out very soon, as well as another video that I've been working on for a very long time and just haven't been able to get out. So hopefully I will never take a break as long as this one again. But I just wanted to thank all of y'all who have stuck around. It does mean a lot whenever I am able to get one of these out. I do miss going through this process, and I'm glad to be back. So, as always, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.